Ron James can find the funny in everything from a Canadian moose to a computer mouse. He's a stand-up comedian, TV host, and intelligent, funny guy whose mandate is to hit the open road and make sense of the daily chaos we walk through on this rapidly spinning planet. His words. The Ron James Show is now in its third season on CBC TV.
Killer whales don't belong in a 20 by 20 foot space eating kipper-flavored kibble anyway. Especially when they've got the entire Pacific as a backyard playground. Plus, they're highly intelligent animals. One look in the eye of a killer whale, I know he'd get a higher mark in math than me. Yet people were so shocked a few years ago when a whale turned on its trainer and killed him. That'll happen when it's a killer whale. If Gus the Killer lived up the street, you wouldn't hold your kids up to him so he could lick their cheek.
It is my pleasure to welcome one of our marvelous Maritimers, Ron James, back to Studio 4 to tell us more about whales and other things.
Always a pleasure, pal.
Hey, nice to see you, pal.
You too.
There was a bit of a political message in that little bit of comedy, just a titch.
Well, you try to hit that balance between both places without losing the room, you know? If you can make a comment and get some laughs at the same time, then I think you're doing your job comedically. And I've always been passionate about nature ever since I was a kid, reading Farley Mowat, and then on to Suzuki's Message, and now, of course, with the pipeline going through the Spirit Bear country, I think that's going to galvanize people a lot more. And but I also there's a second part of that joke where I had to do a commercial with a killer whale once, and it was a moral compromise for me. And because, I don't believe the killer whale should belong in pools, and yet, I had to feed my kid.
Well, that happens.
And then you've got a 20-ton ballistic missile shooting out of the water while you're dropping a plate of cloverleaf tuna down its gate. That's, that's something you don't learn in Strasbourg, right? How to work with a killer whale.
Probably not. I wouldn't think. Not in acting school, no. You have to be a marine biologist to get there, or something like that. So a tuna, did you really do a tuna commercial?
I did years
or was
ago,
that a
yeah.
joke?
No, years ago at Marineland in Ontario, just the first and last. But, that's one of the hidden boons of touring the country, and I've been touring the country for the last 15 years. Is, I really try to embrace a sense of people and place and nature, and really that's how Canadians have traditionally defined themselves, whether geographically or through some kind of affinity with place. There isn't a central mission statement here like there is in America. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, where we were all about peace, order, and good government. Not exactly a party town. But it's cool now, man. I mean, the country's hopping, right?
Apparently a little more hopping than down south, but you spent some time down south. You had a 3-year LA stint.
I did, yeah, years ago, and it was the seminal experience that shifted the paradigm for me and brought me back to Canada to follow my bliss here. And that's where I learned some hard and fast lessons about that the individual is responsible for where they're going to go. And but it was a pretty tumultuous time in Los Angeles, like earthquakes, floods, fires, riots. We moved home because any minute locusts would have been nibbling on us, But it was so different. But yet at the same time, it was a place that I'd always nurtured, as a kid, watching Westerns growing up in the East Coast and watching films. And really the lesson of Up and Down in Shaky Town, my first one-man show, was, the collision of idealism with the hard wall of reality. But it was a seminal lesson, that crucible of Los Angeles, and it boded me very well and when I came home.
But as you know so well, if you're really going to hit the big time, aren't you supposed to go to Hollywood?
Yeah, but I'm drinking for free north of the tree line, darling.
That's true.
Right? This really happened. I was going around the tip of Lake Superior years ago. It was in the dead of winter, like minus 90, 2.5 hours of daylight. I was smack dab in the heart of the Canadian Shield, scoured granite hard by retreating glaciers. You'd swear they just left yesterday. I'm in a town, 500 people in it, 2 last names, right? Extra
Yes.
row of teeth comes in handy when the moose meat's tough. Are you getting the picture?
I'm getting the picture.
Yeah. And they gave me a brown paper bag, and I put my hand in it. This was after the show, right? Loved your show, Ronnie. Gave me a brown paper bag. I pulled it out as a 7.5-pound sirloin tip moose roast. I said, you know, you've made it in Canadian showbiz when the locals are paying you in butchered game.
You know you have a true fan. Did you eat it?
Oh, of course I did. Yeah. I mean, I grew up with, you know, in the woods and on the water with my father. I mean, they were Newfoundlanders who, you know, were sired in a Hobbesian world of, you know,
Yes.
salt water and drudgery on the west coast of Newfoundland. And so, I mean, the Depression was only yesterday, so.
Well, I've had some moose meat in my day, but we used to soak it in milk because it's a bit gamey.
You soaked it in milk.
Soak
Is
it in
that
milk.
an old Montana
Old
trick?
Montana trick.
How about that?
Now, your first paycheck for comedy, for stand-up. Do you remember?
Wow.
You don't have to give me the amount.
That's an oxymoron right there, paychecks for
I
stand-up.
was thinking, when the rubber hits the road.
Oh, boy. I guess, you know what? I started out in Second City in Toronto, and we used to get paid $350 a week. And we do a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, improv sets Monday to Thursday. You know, we were, and when we were in the touring company, I mean, we were paid in a bag of russets and a cup of Muskoka Pond water, so. But all of us were, but it was, I remember reading an interview with Jackie Gleason years ago, and he talked about the days when they were all broke in New York at the tail end of vaudeville when they were making peanuts and just used to go skating, and before they all got famous and before fame became the driving grail of everybody. And those were golden days for us because we were just a troop of like-minded individuals, you know, finding our place and following our bliss. And really, that's what it's all about. And I think the fame game has distorted the pursuit so much, you know? It should be about the work and about enjoying what you're doing rather than about where you're getting.
You once said, I hope this is correct, comedy is the longest apprenticeship in the world. Still apprenticing, you think?
Well,
You? The iconic Canadian comedian?
well, you're always learning, you know? And, you know, I come to the work with a sense of humility and respect for the discipline. And you have a stronger point of view, of course, and you develop certain, you know, confidence on your pins. And, you know, whether you're doing you know, your 2-hour show, no matter where you're doing it, you know where you're going to land and you have an idea. But it's still a mystery, and it should stay a mystery, because as soon as you think you've got it figured out, you're mailing it in. And I change my sets all the time, and now with the television show, I have to write, you know, 5 times as much, because you can't be bringing the same material on the road for a 2-hour show that they're seeing on TV either. So, but it's challenging, and it's great, and it's what you should be doing, which is working hard.
And how much of what you do on the Ron James Show on the TV is scripted?
Oh, we script everything. I've got a dandy little room of writers, and actually my head writer came from a pedigree in Los Angeles of 10 years as one of the producers of Mad TV, Gary Campbell. And I have other writers on board, and exemplary producer Lynn Harvey. And so we make sure that we script as much as we can. But when you're in the pocket of performance, I do like the riff. And I always find that if you've got a strong roadmap, then you can take your tangents that much clearer.
You also have always said, any performer says, never work with kids or dogs.
Right.
How about this Yorkie incident?
That was something, hey?
It was really funny.
Well, you know, you got to tip your hat to a wrangler who's got Yorgies who he's trained to hump someone's shin. I guess there's money to be made. I guess he
Well,
saw a
I
market.
guess so,
I
but
guess he saw a market opening.
the essence of what we just saw is obviously a lovely little couple wants to breed their dog.
Sure. Well, this year we tried to structure the show thematically, so that when I would come out with a monologue, and this monologue was on animals, then we tried to have different sketches and things. But we've got a lot going on in the show. You know, we've got monologues, and we've got the sketches, as well as the cartoon Little Ronnie, which is a tip of the hat to the Coal Town Road in the early '60s, and then the Road Odes. So there's a lot going on for 22 minutes.
Little Ronnie, animated with your head.
Yeah, it is. It is my noggin, right?
It is your noggin.
Yeah.
Looks like your noggin to me.
I got a hydrocephalic dome of a noggin, man. I was 53 pounds until I was 15 years old, and 47 pounds of that was my head. So I was like a non-stop stuttering, bandy-legged, luminescent Celtic gonad. I said to people, with a pedigree like that, was comedy even an option? You know?
Well, you could be a news anchor because apparently people with tiny bodies and big heads look best on television.
I have heard that said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so news anchor could have been in your field
Like,
of
doesn't
bliss.
Vanna White like have a Macy's float-sized head?
Probably, but she also has that hair.
Yeah.
That
that's
helps.
right. The big hair thing.
The big hair thing.
Yeah, right.
Big hair gone now. Now we have flat hair and flat irons, and you don't know about that. Being
All
a
that
guy.
wisdom, though, all that wisdom coming with age, though.
Of course. So hecklers, not on television, but live, and you do a lot of live in the small towns and the big towns.
Yeah, well, the clubs, you get more hecklers, you know. I had a heckler at the show at the taping last weekend, which was unusual, right? And
Really?
Yeah. And,
Makes good television,
Maybe
though.
he was just, you know, really excited to be that far south of the 401. You know, you never know. Right?
What made him heckle?
Who knows? You know, maybe he had a day pass and he just was just too excited.
Could be.
A day pass without the orderlies. Sometimes they get a little giddy.
Tiny bit. A song for salmon country or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's. But you know, when you play the soft seaters, like I've been playing for 15 years, I mean, you have people who've bought their tickets specifically to see you, so you're not going to have so many shout-outs. But it's during the you know, the 7 to 8 years I had in the clubs. That's where, you know, that's where everybody's loaded, and you know, you got a guy in the front row who's face down in his nachos. I don't know what's worse though, you know. At least you could deal with somebody who is face down in his nachos and looking up, rather than face down in their BlackBerry, which is what comedians have to deal with now.
I'm sure they do, and it's probably better than sweating it out in a cowboy bar, but maybe not. Can you sing?
I can get by, you know. I can carry a tune if I have to, but I wouldn't want to be making my living at it. It's like I hosted the Geminis a couple years ago, and they had one of the guys from I think it was what was that song? Working for the Weekend. Was that Loverboy?
Working for the weekend, yes.
Yeah. And
Mike
anyway, I was
Reno.
supposed to sing with him. Yeah, and Mike Reno says to me, he goes, "Hey, I hate to say this, man, but I wouldn't want to be following a comedian. So maybe be quiet when we're singing, okay?" So I just walked to the
He was
back
kind
there.
of bossy, that Mike Reno.
Well, what the heck? He was being
Perhaps.
honest.
Well, but you had a happened to you on the way to academia. I don't think you always planned to be a comedian. When we come back, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ron James.